The Expanse TV show is based on the space opera book series of the same name, written by Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank under the pseudonym James S. A. Corey. The books are a collection of space opera thrillers with a gritty realism and political storylines set 200 years in the future where humanity has successfully colonised the solar system, fragmenting into three main factions: Mars, the asteroid belt, and Earth. Between them, they have managed to maintain a precarious agreement of peace despite a history of bad blood, a struggle for resources, and the many moving political parts that have agendas all of their own. The TV series began in 2015 and premiered on the Sci-Fi channel and a number of global streaming services, and for the most part appeared to want to remain true to the books. The series ran for 3 seasons under Sci-Fi before it was cancelled, however, for the first time. Luckily for us all, it didn't stay cancelled. After a lot of fan campaigning for its return, including from the likes of Will Wheaton and George R.R. Martin, The Expanse was picked up by Amazon, which commissioned the show for 3 more seasons, before cancelling it again after season 6. James S. A. Corey also served among the TV show's producers and writers, which might be one of the reasons why it remained a staunch fan favourite right until the end. I've read the first book in the Expanse series and consider it a must-read space opera, but I did so while simultaneously watching the TV series, and because they were both so similar, I decided to delay reading the rest of the books while I was enjoying the show. In my view, the Expanse TV show is one of the best science fiction shows to air, easily in the last 20 years, and for the most part you can sum up why it was so good very easily. Number 1, the production value was set at the level it needed to be for a show where a lot of the backdrop is in space and where some pretty effed up and jaw-dropping stuff happens. Number 2, the cast and characters made for a ragtag of interesting, flawed and likeable characters that made you care about what happened to them. Number 3, the writing put to these characters in situations that continually raised the stakes of the well-written story and, importantly, followed through on consequences, meaning the intensity of the danger was never undermined. So, if The Expanse was so great, was well adapted from the books, and when it had the loyal support of fans, why the frack did Amazon cancel it? Especially considering that it's currently sinking funds into, in my opinion, very badly adapted content that has, at worst, incurred the undying wrath of some fans and at best received a pretty lukewarm shrug from others. Well, it will surprise no one here that at least one of the major factors that came into the decision was money. Yes, I know, shocker. The Expanse showrunner Naren Shankar told IO9 that, quote, financial considerations were the main reason, and that's also why season 6 was cut down from 10 episodes to just 6. He said, that was a decision between Amazon and Alcon Television. I mean, you always kind of agree how much money you're going to commit to the production of the show, and that was the decision. It came down to making 6 episodes of it. It's always a negotiation to some extent. Could we have done 10? Absolutely. Could we have done 8? Certainly. I don't think we could have been able to tell the season in any less than 6. While disappointing, there was at least a natural ending to the show, which is where Book 6 ends. Book 7, Persepolis Rising, takes place after a 30-year time jump. I don't know about you, but that sounds effing amazing, and I'd love to see that on screen in some form. But with so much source material left to cover in the books, there have been murmurings that this might not be the end of The Expanse, and there might be some scope for future productions, whatever that might look like. When the cancellation was announced in 2020, writers Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank referred to the show's end as, quote, a pause. We have what we think is a very natural pause point for the story after season 6, Frank explained during a press event. It'll feel like a satisfying end to the show we've been building over the first 5 seasons. I think one of the things that is sort of an outmoded idea is the idea of being cancelled. This is a conversation we've been having since we were cancelled for the first time, said Abraham. We've been talking about what the shape of the show could be, and this 6-season arc was always one of the options that was on the table. This is not something that we're having to scramble for. The scope and possibilities for the story are clear. The series is still being backed in other ways, with Telltale Games set to release an Expanse game. Telltale Games seemed to think the story still had a lot to give when it said at the end of last year, "The characters are so complex and the visuals scream to be recreated as a new tale within the franchise's canon. It was a game that we're excited to make with Deck 9 Games." Dominique Tipper, who plays Naomi Nagata in the show, also hinted this might not be the total death of The Expanse on Entertainment Weekly Live, where she said, "Look, this is the end of the TV show on Amazon, so we'll just have to see what happens." It also seems that showrunner Shankar would also love to make a 7th season. He said, "We love the show and we love making the show. Right now, the future really lies with Alcon Television, which is the studio that makes the show, and Amazon, if there is in some form an appetite for more. I think from the standpoint of just the pure creative, I think what we tried to do at least was come to a satisfying conclusion of a huge chunk of the story, while leaving the door open for more if the appetite and the desire is there." Shankar added, "I'm certainly not betraying any confidence to say that Ty, Frank, Daniel Abraham and I, speaking for ourselves, would love to do it. It would be a remarkable thing to complete the whole book series in that way, and I certainly hope we get to do it." So, the fans want it, the cast wants it, the showrunner wants it, and even the authors of the original book series want it. Might The Expanse not be quite as dead in a ditch cancelled as we first thought? If the only real barrier is to find cost-effective solutions to continuing the story, this might be resolved in a number of ways. They could round off the last 3 books with a trilogy of films. They're cinematic in scope and story. Or perhaps they could delve into animation. Or maybe we could just think of the series as being on more of a hiatus until someone, somewhere, decides to pick it up again. But personally, I have reservations with this one, considering some of the production decisions that are happening with a lot of TV series at the moment, so I'm not going to hold my breath. Oh god, I sound so jaded, don't I? Oh well, see ya.